Welcome to the best of the best, the premier category in Australia's premier karting series, the Castrol Edge CIK Stars of Karting. Here, the Pro Gearbox drivers fly in machines that don't know if they're ordinary go-karts or fully fledged race cars. When you see and hear one of these beasts accelerate up to 140 kilometers per hour using a 6-speed gearbox, you quickly realize that these karts are not fit for kids. It's known as a KZ2 kart, and here at Melbourne's Todd Road circuit, we have 28 of them ready to roll at the final round of the championship. A championship that so far has been dominated by one man, 22-year-old Dutchman Joey Hanssen.
2011 World Cup winner, moved to Australia and really won the championship. Yeah, this weekend is looking very good for us. We have a 69-point lead. It's not impossible to still get caught, so a lot of things can still happen. We've won 3 out of 4 rounds so far, so yeah, looking forward to it.
Heading the local talent that's chasing the Flying Dutchman is last year's champ Chris Hayes. He's second in the points this year, ahead of the ever-consistent Jason Pringle, former driver of the year Kel Tressida, and the very fast John Grother.
You know, Joey's definitely fast, he's been consistent all year, and he's going to be hard to beat. Still in with a chance, but it's going to be a near miracle for me to win. Go out there and do the best I can and see how it all ends up.
You know, happy how it's probably turned out, but I'd say it's the year what could have been, I think. Yeah, ideally if we can stay top 3, that would be the main outcome. Get some glass representation on it.
Overall, the championship's been really tough this year. The competition's right up there. I would suggest that it's the toughest championship we've had. Yeah, this weekend it's final payback for Joey. We haven't got a second final win yet, so he's going down this weekend.
So, can the Aussies stop the Euro invasion here in Melbourne at the final round of the Castrol Edge CIK Stars of Karting? Melbourne's immaculate Todd Road circuit once again plays host to the season decider. It's a track where these extraordinary karts really do shine. The man who has dominated the Pro Gearbox season is young Dutchman Joey Hanssen. Driving for CIK Racing, he looks likely this weekend, after a host of race wins throughout the season, to claim another championship for that very impressive racing resume. To the season point score, and Joey's lead is nearly insurmountable. He would need a lot of bad luck to not win the championship. He should have it wrapped up in the first final, but if it doesn't happen like that, then Hayes and Pringle will be ready to pounce. A good battle throughout that top 5. Today our coverage will focus on these incredible shifter karts, but keep an eye on your local guides, because in the coming weeks we'll also check out the racing from Pro Light and Pro Junior. It's all part of the racing here at Todd Road this weekend. The Pro Gearbox kart has a number of features that set it apart from an ordinary go-kart. The most obvious one, that 6-speed gearbox. The drivers use a gear lever just to the right of the steering wheel to change those gears. It's sequential, so back to shift up, push forward to go back down. There's also a clutch that is used in those F1 style grid starts. Drivers operate that with their left hand. They can be tricky to get off the line. The engines, they're 125cc, 2-stroke and open to development. They make around 45 horsepower. The other really unique thing are the brakes. Disc brakes on all 4 wheels, and that's something that's not usually seen on a kart. So with the gearbox, extra power and 4-wheel brakes, they drive much more like an open wheel race car than they do a go-kart. Finally, the overall weight is just 180 kilos, including the driver, and they roll on an MG medium compound tyre. Time to take a look now at this magnificent Todd Road circuit located right near the Westgate Bridge in Port Melbourne. Starts off with that famous downhill section, max speed on the approach to turn 1 at around 130 k's, depending on what kind of kart you're in. Then hard on the brakes, a great overtaking opportunity. Down to the chicane, careful not to hit the curbs too hard through there. The run through turn 4 is just about flat out. Important to carry as much speed through here to set up a pass at the tight turn 5. Then it's hold on down the back straight and through turn 6. If you don't lift through there, you can register 3 Gs through there. Wild stuff. Then it's tight and twisty as it winds its way back up the hill. Super important to get a good run out of the last corner to help make a pass on the next lap. Kilometre long, lap times are around the 40-second mark. Great little track.
Matt Payne, plenty of drama in the heat racing here at Todd Road, as there always is, but we kick things off with a first-time pole sitter.
Yes, live wire. Young Victorian Geordie Ford set the pole time, but he had no answer at all for the championship leader, Joey Hanssen.
Kyle Ensby, Cam Hill, drama in the heat racing, and boy, this got fiery. These two with lots on the line in the Pro Gearbox karts. and it was a fairly big hit too. We went down to the lane to find out what these two live wire drivers had to say after their coming together in the heat races.
Got a bit messy in there, and then I just got turned around. So yeah, we'll go have a talk about this in a couple of minutes and see what he has to say.
Yeah, look, someone missed a gear in front of me and unfortunately got into the back of him, which turned him around and sent me up the bank. Yeah, he didn't seem too happy. I think he must have thought I took him out, but he missed a gear, so I'm not going to drive into the back of someone for no reason.
One of the high-profile crew chiefs here this weekend is 2011 Bathurst 1000 winner Nick Percat.
The beauty of the KZ is that it's more like a car, so you know, I jump in it and I can drive it the same as I was attack the Porsche or the V8 supercar. You know, you have to think about it because there is gears. It's not like a normal go-kart that you just back in and yeah, I come out here to Todd Road during a week, anytime that I have a bit of free time and just have a skid around. It's awesome.
One of the great things about karting is it's an entry-level form of motorsport. The humble way to do it, go and buy yourself a kart, throw it in the back of the ute and go racing for the weekend. The slightly less humble way to do it, buy yourself a trailer, put the go-kart in there, plenty of room for the spares, hook it up to the back of the ute, then go racing for the weekend. But if humble's just not your thing, you do away with the ute, you do away with the trailer, and you get yourself one of these, a transporter. Plenty of room for spares, plenty of room for karts. Hell, there's even room for spare karts. It doesn't take much to get yourself set up in this sport, and there are so many ways to get your kart to the track. The most common way is to use a specialised kart trailer. They go for anywhere between $3 to $5 grand and can fit in a kart or two and plenty of spares. Winning the prize for the sickest setup this weekend is the Patrici Course team. They're based a million miles away over in Kalgoorlie, WA, so they like to roll in style.
What we've got is it's a small semi. We can fit 12 go-karts in the back, all hung up. Plenty of engines. We've got an engine workshop in the middle, where Big Pete works all weekend. So the engines come off the karts and go straight into him. He's got his own hone and everything, so he can rebuild everything we need to be done at the racetrack. We've got 4 bunks and a full kitchen. We run at the top level in Australia in karting, and we need the trucks. It's a good luxury we have here at Patrici Course, and we try and make ourselves as professional as we can. And we've got some good sponsors, Motul. They put some oil in our truck, and we keep trucking, as they say.
Race 1 in Pro Gearbox underway here at Todd Road. Gee, Michael Patrici's always got something to say, doesn't he?
Never short of a word is Michael Patrici, and certainly one of the most professional teams as part of the CIK Stars of Karting Championship presented by Castrol Edge here at Todd Road this weekend.
It's a nice day at Todd Road too, and the man everyone watching, kart number 40, Joey Hanssen, he's a superstar. There's no other way to say it, is there? 2011
World Cup champion he is. He sits on the pole for this one. Alongside him will be Cian Fothergill. Then it's Geordie Ford, Chris Hayes, Johnny Grother, Kel Tressida, Tyler Greenbury, Burton Harris, Pringle, Claridge, Hughes, Mitchener, Bretherton. Then it's Mills, Faint, Hill, Daniel Curry, Matthew Erdman, Jake Coleman and Jason Lecoq.
Some great names to watch from down the field and some very successful karting names as well. Tyler Greenbury has been a mainstay in karting for a long time, and he's a star of the future.
Yeah, he's been right up there for many, many years as Tyler Greenbury, and you'll see here we pull them down the front straight away. We'll stop them for a full standing start. One of the most awesome sights in karting, in fact, world motorsport.
And the stakes are high in this Matt Payne, isn't there? There's a lot on the line, big prize, but big recognition as well. And when you run through some of the former champions in these levels of karting, you can understand why.
If you look at it, Joey Hanssen came to Australia at the end of last year. He was a 2011 World Cup champion. Now he's racing in our championship.
So they get ready for a start. Downhill start here at Todd Road, some movement at the back, but they're underway. We've got pictures right throughout the field, and this is Chris Hayes down into turn 1. So far, so good. And side by side they go through that very tight first corner, and then the track opens out.
Yeah, very, very tough to come off a standing start, especially downhill into that turn number 1 at Todd Road, one of the most famous corners in Australian karting. You can see the number 1 there of Christopher Hayes, the youngster from the Gold Coast, been racing over in the European Championships this year. Certainly hasn't necessarily gone the way that he's wanted in the Australian Championships, but he's been racing up against someone the likes of Joey Hanssen.
It's a great looking sight, isn't it, as they sort themselves out and complete the opening lap. Down the hill they go. Hanssen leads to start the second lap. So that battle for second, Jordan Ford and Hayes in third and fourth place. It's a great fight. Some good onboard pictures too. And it shows how violent these are when you're sitting so close to the ground. Every bump, every vibration right up through the back of your spine.
Yeah, unbelievable amount of work that these guys have to do as Kel Tressida there moves up a spot straight past Geordie Ford. We have to speak about the guy sitting in second place at the moment, Cian Fothergill. This is his best run of the season so far. He's doing an outstanding job. He moved up from the KF category, the Pro Light category this year, and is running his own race team. Now he's out there in Gearbox and running second.
What can you say about Hanssen though? Aside from his domination this season, he's led 144 laps of 236 available coming into this fifth and final round. So his domination hasn't just been in fits and spurts, it's been complete this year.
It has. Chris Hayes got the best of him at the first round at Ipswich, but then from there, Hanssen just put the hammer down and he just run away with it. We've got an eye here on the number 42 of John Grother from the Gladstone region in Queensland. A change of chassis for him this weekend. He's moved over to the ART-GP team, and of course ART-GP, a very famous name not only in karting but in world motorsport.
Well, the ART team internationally in GP3 and GP2 racing, especially owned by Nicholas Todd, son of Jean Todd, used to run Ferrari in Formula One, but their karting team growing in size and stature, and in Australia they're brought over here by Dutchman Joey, who's a kart racer himself, racing in Porsche Carrera Cup this year, and I speak a lot to Dutchman throughout the year. He spends a lot of time in the karts, hands-on development. So the guy that's bringing them into the country is also racing and testing them. That's a pretty good tick in the old product box, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely, and he's got a good guy on board in Johnny Grother, the number 42. Also here, the number 32 Blackberry kart of Joseph Burton Harris, who's moved up to Gearbox for the first time this weekend. John Grother got some sponsorship on board from Chupa Chups, one of the nicest guys in the sport, as we go 3 wide down to turn 1.
Great racing, isn't it? And so much commitment required. The 32 of Joseph Burton Harris in that ART kart we were talking about. So he made some ground. Adam Hughes, we heard from Nick Percat before, Bathurst champion, Carrera Cup race winner this year. He's calling the shots from the sidelines in this one, so keep an eye on the 64 kart right in the thick of this action, and there's the 4 of Jason Faint too, so great fight. Here's another look at this standing start. This is not a common thing in karting, is it?
Not at all. This is the only category that you will see a standing start, and it's a truly spectacular sight. When you've got 30 of these guys lining up on the grid together, then they give them the start and away they go. You see so many different strategies. Oh boys, we go on board here now. This is with Joey Hanssen, your championship leader. He can almost pretty much wrap up the championship here this afternoon if he takes out this final.
So 1,000 metres around Todd Road and 28 to 30, depending on where you shift, gear changes a lap. So 1.8 gear changes a second, which means you're very, very busy and your gearbox gets a lot of work. But let's put these karts in context, Matty. These are the closest things you're going to get to jumping up into a full-on open-wheel race car. Lots of grip, lots of performance, sequential gear shift as well. This is really the next step before you go into car racing.
Yeah, you've got about 50 horsepower that these 125cc engines are generating, all at a minimum driver and cart weight of 180 kilos. So they've got a fantastic power to weight ratio. It's a lot of work out there that you've actually got to do, but you know, they're a fantastic sight. They're so fast. They're just awesome to watch. They're probably doing about 135 kilometres an hour down the end of the front straight here, and remember, you're only 5 centimetres off the ground.
The other stat that I got told that I particularly like, turn 1's at 70 k's an hour, and they go from 130 to 70 in 13 metres, which is a remarkable amount of braking ability down into that very tight first corner at the bottom of the hill. So they're pretty remarkable level of performance. Let's talk about Hanssen a little bit more. What is it, do you think, that makes him so good, so complete? Experience, raw speed, combination of the whole?
Combination of everything, really. I mean, if you race over in Europe and you're racing in this category, you are racing it flat out 100% all of the time. And, you know, to win a World Cup championship as he did, and now to be racing in Australia is just absolutely fantastic and speaks volumes for the Castrol Edge Stars of Karting Championship.
Kel Tressida dicing with Jordan Ford in the 20, lap 9, working our way through this first race for Pro Gearbox.
You've got two of the guys there on track, two Queenslanders in Johnny Grother and also Kel Tressida. They so get the marketing side of the sport. They just do an unbelievable job. Kel, of course, the owner of Kel's Karts and Parts up there in Bundaberg, has support from the Fulcher family throughout his karting exploits. Racing the Energy chassis for Energy Course Australia again this weekend. Is a fantastic ambassador for the sport and is really one of the most popular karters around among these guys that he's racing on a constant basis.
And you can see Shamik racing on the side of the 20 kart, and we've seen that in a national circuit racing level this year with Anton Di Pasquale in Australian Formula Ford. He's leading that standings. He's a graduate of go-karting in recent years, so it's great to see that progression and great to see the karting side of the sport getting their drivers up through the ranks.
Yeah, Shamik Racing do a sensational job throughout this Stars of Karting Championship, as it looks as though we've got a battle on for second now. Here's Christopher Hayes in the number 1, right behind the Kian Fothergill karting number 12 of the man himself, Kian Fothergill.
So it's a great fight. All right, best place to pass at Todd Road. I know you fancy yourself as a gun karter. Where do you fire up the inside here?
Don't know about a gun karter compared to these guys, but certainly down into turn number 1. That's the place that you want to be. Alternatively, on your way up the hill towards the final turn, that also offers a couple of nice little passing opportunities.
A quick left-hand corner as well. 3.5 G in lateral forces. So they're working hard all the while you're trying to line your rival up for a move. So Fothergill covering his line, but at the moment Hayes looks like he is the fastest of this pair.
Yeah, Hayes is an absolutely superb young racer. He's based on the Gold Coast, just 18 years of age. He was invited by the Energy team to go over and race the European Championships this year. Finished in the top 10 on a couple of occasions over there, so has been doing a really good job flying the flag for the Stars of Karting series internationally. And they're pushing on here as the laps are beginning to wind down. You're watching the CIK Stars of Karting presented by Castrol Edge, and this is the first final of Pro Gearbox with Joey Hanssen leading the way.
This race building to a nice conclusion. We're going to jump away for a break. When we come back, the finish to this first race. Welcome back to Todd Road. It's the first final in Pro Gearbox. Joey Hanssen leads Kian Fothergill and Chris Hayes midway through this one. Richard Crale and Matt Payne with you, and this race building to a nice little conclusion. Some good battles up and down the field.
Definitely is. We're picking up one here from the mid-pack. You've got about 6 or 7 karts absolutely nose to tail there. You're looking at the number 90 of Lee Mitchener, who's a Victorian, has done plenty of laps around this circuit. As we cut back towards the battle up towards the front there, 14 laps down, and Chris Hayes is still putting all sorts of pressure on the back of the number 12 of Kian Fothergill.
Yeah, so Hayes has been stuck up behind the 12 kart for most of this race and just continuing to apply the pressure, but Fothergill's holding on, and often attacking is just as important as defending, but knowing you can hold off that rival and keep that pressure building behind you is often a good trait to have.
Especially for someone like Kian. This year hasn't really gone to plan for him. He's put a huge effort behind the entire Stars of Karting series, and this has been his best result so far. To be sitting second between Hanssen and Hayes, the two combatants, is a fantastic effort for him. And look at that kart. He's gone with a very psychedelic sticker kit for this weekend, and it looks absolutely fantastic.
Well, coming into this final, Matty, 10 different drivers had stood on the podium of a Pro Gearbox race, and Fothergill not one to his credit this season, so he'll be very, very keen to hold on. The number 1, though, well, he's been up there 4 times this season with 1 final win to his credit too. So he's got the experience and the success behind him this season. Doesn't have the track position at the moment, though.
No, he desperately needs to get past Fothergill if he is a chance to throw out a challenge to Hanssen up in front. Remember, the championship's still not over, and it's between these two, your leader and your third place man. Then there's also the battle for third in the championship as well. So that's between Grother, also the number 75 of Kel Tressida. They're almost together on the track. One who is involved in that but isn't out on track anymore, sadly, is Jason Pringle, who's had to pull out of this one.
Great shot at turn 1. Gives you a bit of an indication of the elevation change here at Todd Road, but not the real indication. You've got to go and actually wander around this circuit, or even better, drive it in a kart to just really get the undulation of this place.
Yeah, there's a definite mountain. If you have a look at the section of the track we're watching now, this is the wind up the hill. They worked their way through this very, very technical section, kept working their way up the hill, and it's quite a dramatic drop-off, almost like a reverse circuit of the Americas that you can see there, the way that they come down the hill, which really sets you up. You have to be hard on the brakes to go through this left-hander at turn number 1.
Lee Michener there in the 90. We were watching the Formula K Australia entry. He's right in the thick of that battle. Here's this fight for second that continues.
That's Chris Hayes that we're on board with now. You can see that he does have a couple of camera angles there. If you look, you can see the brakes on the front of the vehicle. They've got front brakes, they've got rear brakes. They've also got the 6-speed gearbox to contend with. So plenty of action and plenty for the driver to do. This kart, of course, being set up by Adam Graham, a former Formula A CIK Australian champion.
Yeah, and I think Adam's had a bit of success in open wheel racing as well in the cars. So he's made the step up. This is a great fight. This is the relentless pressure, isn't it? Has a look. He's closer now than he's been for a couple of laps and looking to put one on him for second. Down the inside, makes it stick. Good move.
Yeah, great move there from Chris Hayes, and you can see the respect from Kean Fothergill. Gave him the racing room and allowed him to go through. Here we go, on board with Hayes. He's setting the move up down to the left-hander. Goes up the inside. Gets the job done.
Yeah, real textbook stuff, wasn't it? Just with that little slide when the rears grab as they go into the corner. It's sort of iconic karting stuff, isn't it? So Fothergill, though, still hasn't finished on the podium this season. So if he stays where he is, he'll break for the first podium of the season, which will still be a good result given the competition he is up against. Meanwhile, the number 40 up the road, although Hayes has been released in that fight for a second. So we'll see what sort of impression he can make. But at the moment, it looks like Hanssen on his way to his 7th victory of the season.
If you have a look here, he takes a look over the shoulder, he will see that that number 1 is right behind him. Joey Hanssen knows that Christopher Hayes is a relentless young campaigner and will be doing everything he possibly can to close that gap with just a handful of laps to go as we're on lap number 20.
It's 130 k's an hour, down to 70 at that first corner. And then the flow that Matt talked about before, climbing the hill and making something like 30 gear changes a lap. And this will give you an idea of how hard they have to work.
Up a gear, up another gear, 3rd gear there, that they've pulled in the space of about 50 metres. No more gears, down a couple as they go through the right-hander. Now they start to wind their way up. Now we change camera angles with this time with Christopher Hayes, and you can see that gap. Since Hayes has got past Fothergill, it's really closing down. Remember, folks, this is a battle for the championship.
So down to turn 1, and now it's a case of mistake-free driving from Hanssen, the leader, to bring it home and get a victory. Not too many laps to go. Fight for the minors continues.
Yeah, this is Kel Tressiter here, who's got the 66 of Tyler Greenbury right behind him, who's chasing him down. The CRG, he's got his teammate from CIK Racing in the 20, Geordie Ford, right behind him as they work their way through this part of the racetrack. Then you've got the 95 back there at the back of this one.
Jake Claridge, the Super Rooster CRG. So he's just tacked onto the back of this battle pack. It strikes me about this racing, Matt, that you have to earn every single overtake you make, and you will have to fight for it right to the very end of the corner.
There's no quarter asked, none given. It's very technical. It's all about the tyres and using it as best you can. Greenbury up the inside. Kel Tressiter goes straight back up through him there, and gee, that's really cost Greenbury a bit of momentum and put him back into the clutches of the 20 as we see him go there hard on the brakes. Look at the movement of the kart. He's got one wheel up in the air. Kel Tressiter will be laughing behind that number 75 helmet.
Yeah, great car control though. Managed to grab it up, could have fired it off the road, but Greenbury's experience was enough to hold on to that. That is very good racing. It works for the 75 in front, but gee, let him know he's there, and it let him know that Greenbury will have a go. He's not afraid to try and fire one down the inside and at least attempt to pass. And I like to say about a lot of races, I like to see them at least have a go and try and work their way past.
Yeah, at least he did have a crack there, but Tressiter, who is fighting it out for 3rd in the championship, would not have wanted to see that at all. It was a little bit too close for comfort for him. Greenbury's been out of the championship this year, made a comeback this weekend for the CIK Racing team, and he's really putting the Mayor of Bundaberg under all sorts of pressure.
Jordan Foyd would have liked that to happen because he had the potential to get not just 1 but 2 positions there in the 20, so he's just on the back of this battle. The 3rd kart in the queue, white and red nose cone. So he's watching this. Greenbury again down the inside. This time, does he make it stick? You bet he does. So he finally gets that position. Took him 15 laps, but finally got there in the end.
Yeah, that was a bit better from Tyler. He learned from his mistake the last time. Just went in with a little bit more control, got the job done, and now he's up a spot in front of Tressida. But Tressida, he's right there with him. Keep an eye on the number 95 as well. That, of course, is Claridge. This is one of his first runs of the season. A former junior competitor from Pro Junior moved up, and he's got Burton Harris, the young 15-year-old, right on his hammer as well.
Well, Ford really attacking now in that battle with the 75, who seems to be better through that second half of the lap, but Jordan Ford, I think he's got a real opportunity to get by before the end of this race, though. Tressida's just extended that margin, so he just settled down after that overtake, and he's just pulled that margin back out again over Ford. And Claridge just in the back of this queue as well. So this is a great fight. The intensity has been high right from the very start. The 32, Burton Harris, just locking himself onto the back of this queue as well.
This is Burton Harris's first competitive outing in this category, doing a great job. Just a young guy, still hasn't got the build, the body build of those around him, yet he's still in there with the fight. He was very quick in practice on Friday, has done a lot of testing in that BlackBerry ART GT machine coming into this weekend.
So not too many laps to go in this one, and the pressure builds throughout the pack. Nothing has changed up in front. Joey Hanssen still leads the race. Christopher Hayes trying to catch him down, but not making a massive impression in the battle for the lead. There it is. There's the leader out in front. Nice margin, and this has just been a consistent, controlled, smooth, very nice performance as he starts his final lap.
Just doing exactly what he needs to do as Joey Hanssen. He knows that he's got a significant build in the championship. He's working the final lap now. Hayes is still right there with him, but he's just got a couple of corners left to go.
It's been a great performance. 6 feature victories coming into this race. He's about to make it 7. Well done, Chris Hayes. It's been a good fight. Had to work his way through to get to second place and then applied the pressure. But had he done that 10 laps early, you feel he might have had a crack to get to the back of the number 40. But the checkered flag will be out this time round, and feature win number 7 for the season for the man that leads the championship and wins it with that result. Well done, Joey Hanssen. He's wrapped up the Pro Gearbox title. That is a great result.
Yeah, Joey cannot be defeated from here this afternoon, regardless of what happens. He has just been unbelievable. A fantastic addition to the championship as Hayes comes up alongside him and says, well done, son. You've taken it from me, and it's very significant.
So Hanssen wins from Hayes, Fothergill 3rd, Grother and Greenbury 4th and 5th, with Tressida, Ford, Claridge, Burton Harris and Mitchener completing the 10. Here's Chad Nalon chatting with Chris Hayes after a great drive here at Todd Road.
Giving up the title, but second in that race. Still a good weekend so far.
Yeah, not a bad weekend. Yesterday we struggled a little bit with top 5 finishes, but Ben was second. We made a couple of changes last night, so...
Pretty disappointed that you couldn't hang on to the title, though?
Yeah, a little bit disappointed. I mean, second's still a good result for the Energy team. I mean, we'll come back next year and try and fight for it.
All right, well, Chris Hayes is going to be going out there for one last crack. Can anyone stop Joey Hanssen? That seems to be the question here at Todd Road this weekend. Just one race left in the championship. You don't want to miss it. It's coming up after this.
One race down, 1 to go in the final for Pro Gearbox here at Todd Road. Jake Coleman, however, won't be taking the starter in this one. He's got some tech issues. He's pulled off to the side of the racetrack and unfortunately won't be going any further. Hanssen from pole, Hayes second, Matt Payne. This is the finishing order from the first final. It's how they start the second. Another important race. Even though the championship's decided, you really want to end the season on a high note.
One guy who particularly want to do that is Christopher Hayes, but I'm keeping an eye on 3rd place in the championship between 4th starting Johnny Grother in the 42 and the 75 of Kel Tressida out of position 6.
So that fight within the first 3 rows of the grid, and they will be ones to watch. Jordan Ford also in the 20 had a pretty good run in the first race. So another standing start here at Todd Road. The first one went very well. Watch for Joey Hanssen. He's been in very, very good touch today. A bit of a roll on the second row there for Fothergill, but we're away. Everyone gets a pretty reasonable start in the run down into turn 1. And it's that man in front. Hanssen leads through the first corner.
The Flying Dutchman gets the best of the start there. Got a brilliant start to get one over Hayes there, through down into turn number 1. And check out the battle right all the way back. There's a couple of guys that didn't have the results in final number 1 that have really got a lot of work to do. One of those guys was the Patrizikos Birrell driver of Kyle Ensby, who got a great start from further back in the pack.
It was Mitchener just making a move into the left-hander, got it done, so he's making some moves early. Attack on cold tyres. It's a good trait to have in the car racing game, in circuit racing, when you make the step up, and that's a trait learned in karting. So 1 down, and the 40 leads. Hanssen, Hayes down into turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, Johnny Grother there went for a little bit of a look on the back of Chris Hayes going down into turn number 1. Grother won a final earlier this year down at the Geelong at the 3rd round of the championship. Was online to go through and make it a double at that very weekend, but just had a drama that stopped his kart. He's just about to become a father for the first time as Johnny. He's just had an epic year.
And starting to apply the pressure in the top 3. So he's involved in that fight for 3rd that Matt mentioned earlier. That will be one to watch across the course of this second final. So down to complete another lap. 3, in fact. And it's been a nice, clean start. Gee, Hanssen, he's good on cold tyres, isn't he? And just gets that couple of extra kart lengths in those first 2 laps. The field's now started to come back to him, but cold tyre pace, it's so critical to a driver's skill set.
Yeah, particularly from the standing starters we've seen. You know, it's about getting off the line cleanly, getting off the line well, then settling into the race rhythm. It can be quite a stressful time to get away from that line with so much going on around you, and he's one of the best at it. But you've got Johnny Grother there, who's got the number 75 of Keltress right on his hammer as they work their way up the hill.
So those 2 protagonists fighting over 3rd spot in the championship, running line astern on the road in 3rd and 4th on the racetrack. It's always funny, isn't it, how championship rivals tend to find themselves locked together on the racetrack. Doesn't matter if it's stars of karting or it's Formula 1. If you're fighting for a championship, the cream, it sort of rises to the top, doesn't it? They might be fighting for 3rd, but they're right at the pointy end of this very strong field.
Yeah, they've just got a definite magnetism about them, and our top 4 championship protagonists, the 1, 2, 3 and 4 in this final race of the season. Sitting there in 5th and not giving them anything at all is Cian Fothergill. I think Cian might actually be in line, certainly one of the strong contenders for the Adidas All-Star Award this weekend.
Well, this is a very different race in its early stages to race 1, because we saw Hayes tucked up behind Fothergill in the early stages of that first race. Couldn't find a way past, and that allowed Hanssen to pull away out in front. This time, very different. He's 2nd, and he's applying the pressure to the race leader. So this is a great 5-kart fight for the lead now. A very competitive fight it is too.
I can tell you that there is nobody on that track more who wants to win this race than Christopher Hayes in that number 1 kart. He saw his number 1 go across to Joey Hanssen at the end of final number 1 earlier on today, and he won the first round of the season, did Chris Hayes, and he wants to walk away saying, I've got one over the champ again.
We should mention, Matty, the prize pool is pretty impressive in this series. The champion, which in this case is Joey Hanssen, we saw him wrap that up in race 1, $10,000 scholarship towards competing in a CIK international event. So that's a massive boost to a young driver's career.
Oh, definitely. And as we said that Joey is a World Cup champion in his own right. However, he's still just 21 years of age, so still a very young guy, and can go off and do some more over on the world stage. And certainly with the backing of Schmick Racing and the CRG team here in Australia, that wouldn't be a bad position to be in. They're a crack organisation, and fantastic for Joey to receive that $10,000 prize.
And we've been talking about that battle for 2nd and 3rd in the championship, and free race tyres for the 2014 championship for the runner-up, free entry for 3rd place. So there's plenty on the line for the minor positions, much like there is for the major position in this race, because Hayes has commenced an attack on our race leader and is now working double time to try and get past.
He will not give it up without trying to get past Joey Hanssen. It does not matter what he's got, what he can do. Joey Hanssen's leading the way, and all that Chris Hayes has eyes on is that clear track in front of him, and all Hanssen has eyes on is putting his kart and making it as wide as it possibly can be.
I don't know, Hanssen looks so good out of that final complex. That'll make turn 1 a very difficult proposition for the number 1 kart to try and get down the inside. We've seen it being done. Tyler Greenbury tried it in that first race. He failed once and then succeeded the second time round. But it's a tough place to overtake here, Todd Road. You really have to earn your pass and earn your position. But he's certainly looking like he's got great kart speed at the moment, and certainly quicker than the race leader. But he's caught him, as they say, catching one thing, Matty, passing very much another.
Yeah, I've just been watching Joey Hanssen, the lines that he's been taking on that previous lap. He's already showing a very defensive move. As I say that, Chris Hayes goes straight up the inside as we're on board thanks to Race Recall. What a move there that was from Christopher Hayes. As I was saying, that Joey Hanssen was showing some very defensive lines, and here's Hayes now, looks up the inside.
Yeah, right at the last minute too, just stuck the nose out, curve on the inside, got the kart turned in and got it done. That was a great move. Now let's see what raw pace the number one's got. Out in front, the guy that's dominated this season in behind him. Nothing to lose, remember, he wrapped up the championship in the first race, so he can go for the victory if he's got the kart underneath him to do it. But at the moment, the way Hayes is driving away, I'm not sure he does.
When these two have been at it all season long, it's just been one or the other. It's been the H&H show since round number one. The two of them have just battled it out strongly, and what a fantastic battle it's been right throughout the championship. Now Hayes, since he got in front a lap and a half ago, has set about pulling that gap and trying to break the back of the Joey Hanssen challenge. Hanssen's got his own dramas, of course, with the battle for third in the championship going on right behind him. Yeah, the ART Grand Prix driver John Grother in the 42 applying the pressure with Kel Tressida, the Kel Parts JT Motorsport kart just behind them too. So a great fight, second, third and fourth. And that was a great shot of the kart control from Christopher Hayes, just a little bit sideways going into the corner. It's that typical kart slide. I do it for in the higher cut, but that's because I don't have any talent. These guys do it because it's the fastest way into a corner. It's great fun to watch these guys at maximum attack and driving these things as hard as they possibly can. Yeah, absolutely. The cart's looking fantastic underneath Christopher Hayes, John Target, Adam Graham, both working on that kart, as we said before, and just delivering a brilliant race package. The Energy Course Australia team have really stepped it up in 2013. They've seen the championship go the way of Joey Hanssen, who of course has raced not only for CRG this year but also for Lenzo Kart. But make no mistake, the Energy Course Australia team are there, and we'll be back next year to go even stronger. Well, coming into this weekend, Hanssen and Hayes, the two guys that have fought it out, was second and third in the all-time Pro Gearbox winners list with 6 and 5 respectively. So Hanssen moved to 7, tied him at the top of the all-time rankings with Kyle Ensby, which is fantastic. But some of the names on this list as well: David Serra, Matty Wall, Tyler Greenbury. They're some of the greats in Australian karting's last decade and a half, Matt. So if you succeed in this class, you know you are right at the top of your game. Pretty much anyone has raced this class and has been successful in it in Australia. It's a very unique driving style that it requires. Everyone who gets in one of these KZ2 Pro Gearbox karts gets out with a smile on their face. 50 horsepower, 6 speeds to play with. There's plenty to do out there. Every 1.8 seconds you're changing gears around this Todd Road facility. So it's a fantastic way to go karting, really develop your skills and to go on to bigger and better things. Or if you're someone like Kel Tressida and Johnny Grother, just to go out and have some fun. I'd suggest they're doing that, Matt, based on their racing so far this weekend. They're involved in a great fight for the minor positions in this second and final race for Pro Gearbox here at Todd Road. Such a fantastic facility, isn't it? And almost iconic now in Australian karting. Right in inner Melbourne, it's so close to everything. And it's a real karting hub for Australian karting, and so many great young karters have come through here and moved up through the ranks. This is on board with the race leader. Christopher Hayes has got clear racetrack in front of him, and that will be a lovely sight, having spent much of the first race of the day stuck up behind a go-kart. Down the hill he comes to reel off another lap, as you're saying there, Richard, about the Todd Road facility. Geographically, I believe the best placed karting circuit in the world. It's only about 5 minutes away from the Docklands precinct in Melbourne, and one of the best tracks in Australia, one of the best facilities in Australia. And we're on board with Christopher Hayes as he just continues to lead out in front. There's clear air in front of him. We're about to go for a break. We'll be back with Pro Gearbox final number 2 from CIK very soon.
Thanks to Castrol Edge, we're at Todd Road. It's the stars of karting. It's been a fantastic weekend so far, and there's still plenty of racing to go. We're midway through the second final, and number one, Christopher Hayes, is leading the way. Joey Hanssen in second, the man that won the first race of the weekend. Richard Craill and Matt Payne with you. Matty, this has been a great weekend so far. Should acknowledge Castrol's support of karting in Australia has been a massive boost to this series.
Since the Stars of Karting concept was first brought in, Sue Dilger and the team at Castrol have been right behind it. They've really thrown the strength to perform of Castrol Edge with the Stars of Karting series, and have just had a fantastic result out of the whole thing. And you know, to see the championships going right to the line as they have been just about every single year, and especially this weekend, is fantastic as we see Christopher Hayes leading the way here over his season-long combatant Joey Hanssen.
He's the reigning champion in this class, Matt, and it must be a little bit frustrating for him to not be able to defend his crown, but on the same time satisfying to end his season in a very, very strong way like he has. Second in the first race, leading this one with not too far to go.
Oh yeah, I mean, Chris has been right there throughout the season. Both him and Joey have had their dramas throughout the season. There's been a couple of engine problems here, a couple of engine problems there, but you can't deny Joey Hanssen. He's won 7 races, so you know, you just can't deny that. That's just class.
Certainly is, and he's showing it all in this one. So the Queenslander leading the way. He's second in the championship, and he'll wrap that up with this result too, if he can stay where he is. Let's have a little look further back. The minor position still very much alive in this one. There's Kyan Fothergill in the 12. He's in this hunt. He had a good drive in race one, I thought. Defensive pressure. He was holding on from Hayes for much of that first race, and in the end settled for third place, but it was nice to get on the podium for the first time this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a challenging season for Kian. He's just been trying to get the package together. He said there's nothing wrong with the driver. It's just a matter of getting everything to gel. Of course, he is a former champion in this style of racing, not the gearbox category, but, you know, everything just needed to gel for Kian, and has started to come good for him here this weekend. Not only has he been racing himself, but he's got a couple of young guys in juniors, a couple of young guys in Pro Light under the Kian Fothergill karting banner. So it's been a massive operation to go from a 1-kart team into a 5 or 6-kart team pretty much overnight, and I think he's just been doing a superb job.
John Grother in the 42, right in the thick of the action, the Queenslander from Gladstone, and was on his way in round 3 to a victory. Unfortunately, the old $10 component failure cost him there, Matt, and that would have been frustrating, but he's still fighting for a minor position on the podium in the point standings this weekend, and there's still plenty on the line in that respect.
Yeah, he's got Kel Tressiter right behind him, a good mate of his who's from Bundaberg, so not too far away from Gladstone is Kel Tressiter, and those two are running right there together. Johnny, of course, has got the Chupa Chups helmet on. He's had a long-term association with the Chupa Chups confectionery company, and you know, does a great job for them. Always got a bucket of Chupa Chups for the kids at the track.
You're just angling them up for some product, aren't you, I think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great sponsorship to have as we work lap 21 of this second final. Great to see the sponsors jumping on board with Australian karting too. It seems to me, Matt, that it's in a good place at the moment.
Yeah, very good place at the moment is Australian karting. Competitor numbers are up all over the country. The shops are reporting that the industry is doing some really strong things at the moment. So if you want to get on board karting, jump onto the Australian Karting Association website at karting.net.au. It's got all the information that you need. It's got all the information about your local clubs. You can come to the Go-Kart Club of Victoria at Todd Road and race on this very track pretty much once a month, every month of the year.
So lap 22, and the leaders just spreading themselves out now. So Hanssen's not letting up on his pressure in the race leader, and in fact in the last lap and a bit, you've got to say that margin might have come down just a little bit. First to second, Hayes to Hanssen. But Christopher's doing a very good job holding track position and holding that race lead. This is a position he's been in before this season and in previous seasons as well, being the defending champion in Pro Gearbox, so he knows how to win motor races. It's been a frustrating season, but he's still been one of the very best and brightest.
Yeah, you see the blue plates there on a number of their go-karts behind the numbers. That denotes that they're a state champion in the class. So throughout the season, the first final of the day, that becomes the state championship for these classes, and that goes right throughout Australia. You'll see the blue plates in various classes. You'll also see the green plate that Christopher Hayes is running as Tyler Greenberry goes past Kean Fothergill there. That denotes, of course, the Australian champion and number 1.
Gee, Tyler's made some good moves today. He's been in that bottom half of the top 6 or 7 most of the weekend, but he's made the passes count when he needs to. And great young talent.
Very impressive comeback from Tyler, the youngster from Toowoomba, as we start lap number 24. He hasn't been racing this year in this category, as we said before. He's had the opportunity to step into the CIK Racing CRG this weekend, and he's making the fist of it here at Todd Road. The tyres, of course, are run by MG tyres. They're probably getting towards the end of their lifespan now. They get 3 sets of 3 tyres, I should say, for the front, 3 tyres for the rear, and it's up to you as to how you use them throughout the weekend.
And how do the teams find tyre life, Matt? Do they need to swap them very often? How hard do they work them here?
They work extremely hard, especially in these karts and with the gearboxes and everything else. You know, they change them. It comes down to strategy. It's down to your driver, how much he actually uses, and that varies between the teams. So, you know, everyone's keeping an eye on what everyone else is doing right throughout the weekend, and, you know, no one's going to show their hand too early, and it's just down to driver skill, down to the mechanics and what they can eke out of those Brazilian-made tyres.
Well, we've seen tyres be a talking point in motorsport this year, and we've seen tyres at a high level that can't stand the 3.5 Gs that these ones are dealing with here at Todd Road through some of the quicker corners. So they're doing an excellent job. And through the quick corner, 3.4 Gs has been recorded in these karts. 1.5 G braking into turn 1 right at this point in the racetrack. And it could be where, I think Greenberry's about to make another move, is he? Not quite.
Carbon copy of the last race, of course.
Yeah.
We see these two going at it. Kel Tressiter in the 75 with the 66 of Tyler Greenberry right behind him. Kean Fothergill hasn't dropped off the back of Tyler Greenberry there. Greenberry, though, just really wanting to show that he's still in town.
And CRG is one of those iconic karting brands, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, if you think back throughout the years, Ryan Briscoe was a long-time CRG factory pilot. Energy, of course, was set up by John Target, the guy who's doing a lot of setup work with Kel Tressiter and also Chris Hayes this weekend, set up over there in Europe when John was over there doing his European racing. So there is an Australian link, despite it being an Italian manufacturer for Energy, purely Italian there for CRG. And, you know, we see many, many different brands out there racing against each other. It's just fantastic to see.
Final lap here at Todd Road. What a weekend it's been, and the 2 drivers that have dominated the championship end up on top in the final round of the year. It's very appropriate, isn't it? Joey Hanssen took race 1, and Christopher Hayes for Energy Course Australia. Adam Graham behind the scenes helping him out. He'll get the flag, head in the air. He was happy with that one. A great victory at Todd Road with a Balti Bridge in the background. It's a great sight in karting, and that was a very, very good victory. He had to work for that. He made the move early. He got past. This is a good celebration, NASCAR style. Get the checkered flag at the end, and a bit of a victory lap as well.
Yeah, it's been one of the real highlights of the CIK Stars of Karting Championship throughout each season so far, as handing the checkered flag and also the championship flag to the winners.
So, confirmation of results. Hayes from Hanssen, Grother 3rd, Tressiter 4th in that battle they were having throughout the race. Greenberry P5 ahead of Fothergill. Ford in 7th ahead of Adam Hughes, Pringle and Burton Harris. And there's the champion, and this is a good moment in any karter's career, putting that iconic number 1 on the front nose of your go-kart.
Very much a showman. That is very cool from Joey Hanssen to be doing something like that, giving it the rub, giving it the number 1, saying, I am the boss.
Great stuff. Applause from the crowd here at Todd Road as well. The Castrol flag flying high. It's been a remarkable season, 7 finals victories. And he'll go back to pit lane and celebrate with his team. A remarkable season, and that's an excellent bit of showmanship, you're right. And there's some very nice silverware as well.
Yes, indeed. I think that'll be celebrated long and hard by the CIK Racing team tonight. Joey Hanssen comes in to be awarded that trophy. We catch up with the champion now.
Joey, you came, you saw, you conquered the John Pizarro trophy. The Castrol girls handed over. You are the champion here in Australia. Well done.
Yeah, it's an awesome feeling. It's a great opportunity to thank everybody, CIK Racing especially, for giving me this wonderful kart and the great engine for this weekend.
You were the World Cup winner in 2011, now a winner here in Australia. What's that like?
It's the same feeling. Winning is always good.
Congratulations, well done.
Winning is always good. There's no doubt about that. So there's just confirming the final points. Hayes got second. Grother outracing Tressida at the end of the season for third and fourth. Let's go back to Chad. He's with our second race winner, Chris Hayes.
Quickly give us a rundown through that last race. You spent a few laps psyching him out to finally make that move.
Yeah, it took me a little bit too long to pass him, but once I got past him, just head down and go all the way to the finish line and managed to pull it off and just went hard all the way to the last corner.
Good finish to the year, Chris. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, what a weekend it's been. What a season it's been in Pro Gearbox. The championship goes the way of the Dutchman.
It's been a fantastic weekend from Todd Road, but that's not all there is. Check your local guides, because next week the Pro Light Finals from this very racetrack will be on your TV. On behalf of our entire team, thanks for watching the Stars of Karting. Thanks to Castrol Edge. We'll see you next time from Todd Road.